Welcome everybody, this is Brothermutant here. Today we're going to show you our Undead Eldritch Scion build. I am not overly thrilled by it, so I apologize if the enthusiasm just doesn't come across. It's because there is none. It's not that the build is bad, I'm actually okay with it. I'm not ecstatic. It's not like the Abyssal build, which was just crushing stuff. This one's definitely going to do a job, and it will be a decent tank. But having said that, I still like the Abyssal build better. And I think the reason I don't like this one is because some of the cooler spell effects, you know, the necromancy spells, you don't have access to till 19. And that's a long wait. So this is a strength-based build. We started off with a strength of 16, dex of 13, 14 con, 12 intelligence, 10 wisdom, and 16 charisma. Notice that we're not going to have high charisma at all unless we get gear. And even then it's still going to be kind of subpar. That means this is not a DC check build. This is not going to be something where you're relying on your spells to land. So you find those spells that either aren't save or suck, the ones that literally have an effect even if they do save, which we do have access to again at like level 19 even. So there's that. You will not feel like a Necro Lord in my opinion using this one, and more on that later. I'll show you how we picked feats as we leveled up. We went Bardiche, so we have a slightly different weapon than the glaive, because some people are just like, well, I don't really like the glaive or the way it looks. Bardiche was another option. It looks pretty badass. We actually managed to play a little bit, so we got ourselves a +1 Bardiche. I need to go restock up on some potions, because I took all my armor off right now, which you would never do, of course. I'm just doing it because I haven't yet to find some magic ones. We have, you know, a natural armor +1 amulet, +1 ring of protection, this plentiful hut ring, which we probably still actually won't even use that. The tight helmet, which again, saving throws against Sonic. Yeah, so we have a little gear that we've accumulated already, but nothing really to write home about. The build itself, being a strength-based build, is going to capitalize on the fact that we can swing a two-handed weapon for some serious damage. But some of our spells require things like Diamond Dust, maybe even Diamond Sword Bone. So I'm just going to grab like a small smattering of these things just to make sure that I have, you know, anything I would need to cast a spell, for instance, so that you can see the effect. We'll grab, where are you? Mage Armor, Potion, a couple of them just so until I find some armor, and I'm going to grab a couple of these Delay Potion, Poison, excuse me, scrolls. Now I'm back to being broke again. We are level 20, so let's look at the build. You are a human. I have thought about going other races. Wasn't really tied to anything in particular. But since feats were kind of important, I figured, what the hell, let's get the extra feat. We went neutral evil because, you know, duh, you're undead. So I was trying to make my Necrolord, and it just didn't really come together. It's not that we have bad skills or abilities that we get as we level up, as you'll see, but a lot of the ones that they give you are either lackluster or good situationally. I'll give you a for instance. Situationally, Undeath to Death is an amazing spell if you're fighting undead. If you're not fighting undead, you just gave me a spell at level 6 that I can't use. Which, again, I'm not complaining, because again, when you can use it, you're going to love it. We even get Circle of Death, but they only got that because we got that level 19 free picks. And again, so now I have one spell that, you know, if they're undead, I can kill them. If they're living, I can kill them, including myself, so be careful with that spell. But most things, and it's weird to say this, but most things are either living or undead in this game. So it's a nice 1-2 combo. There are exceptions to the rule, being a magical world, so there's going to be things like constructs that are immune to either of these effects because they're not living or dead, truly. So there's that. But the point is that still covers quite a bit of territory. Now, yes, that's level 6 spells, and that's only available at level, let's see, 1, level 2, level 3, 4, 5. Level 6 spells, I won't get this one, even though it says I get it here. I won't be able to cast it until I get to level 16. And then I won't be able to get the other one, the Circle of Death spell, to level 19, which is, of course, way end game. This is not a solo build. You can take it solo for a while. It is pretty darn beefy, matter of fact, early on, and it's because of certain things that they give you that you have that ability. For instance, Death's Gift is amazing. Once you get it at level 3, your ability to resist incoming damage jumps dramatically. A DR5, and unless it's a magical weapon, you always have that DR5 against physical attacks. That's arrows, crossbow bolts, them swinging a mace in your face. You're basically tough. Yes, you also have resistance to cold of 5. That's kind of, who cares? I mean, when it lands, you'll be happy you have it. But by and large, it's like meh. It doubles in strength at level 9, so you gotta love that. And again, still remains that same deal where if it's a magical weapon, it penetrates it completely. Now you're going to start seeing that, and again, boss fights will be examples of those. You'll be fighting bosses and you're like, why is he cleaning my clock? Oh yeah, my resistance is gone. On that note, there are spells that you can get that will benefit you that are not DR number / magic. For instance, Stone Skin is DR 10 / adamantine. Now, if he's an adamantine weapon, he could penetrate you. But if it's an adamantine magic, if it's not an adamantine magic weapon, you will have DR5 at least. If it is an adamantine magic weapon, that's 2, and then you're basically back to being screwed. You have no resistances. But there's another spell that comes late, and again, you can pick it. This is one of these you can pick at 19, called Angelic Aspect, I believe, and it gives you DR5 against evil. So again, unless it's an adamantine and magic and an evil weapon, they're not penetrating all your damage resistance. So you feel tanky is my point in this build. So that's the one thing it does have going for it. Hence the reason I went strength and enough con to make it matter. Even a little bit of intelligence, because what the hell, I'd rather have it than the wisdom, I suppose. The dex starting at 13, the first point I invested at level 4 was in dex to get it to +2. The reasoning behind that, you're still wearing light armor, so you can still benefit from this. You're still doing ray spells periodically. You don't have point blank shot, you don't have precise shot. You are the tank, so you're kind of up in it. But as a nice opening salvo, a beam to the face at range, you're still not firing into melee combat then, so not bad. So that's the thing. And then from there, the last 4 points got invested all in your 16 strength all the way to 20. Again, it's not going to be abyssal level of awesome, but still pretty damn beefy. No real good DC checks, so don't rely on that stuff. As far as skills go, I invested mostly in the ones that made sense, so your perception and your persuasion. Just enough in athletics to kind of kick you up and over the top, nothing amazing. Other than that, mostly, like I opened up, you have lore religion, I put a point in there, I put a point in knowledge world, and again, unless you are trained in these, you don't get any check at all. So 1 point in them did something. Lore nature, we don't get really any bonus to it. The only reason you see a bonus here is because we have a ring. We still can't use this skill because we didn't invest in it, because it's a trained only effect. But these two you are trained in, so I put 1 in knowledge world and went mostly in arcana. Now if you're not liking the arcana, go world. If you don't like that, go lore religion. I would hesitate to split them amongst the 3. You don't have enough wisdom or intelligence to really capitalize on any kind of buff. But since we have more intelligence than anything, I figured I'd pick one of the knowledges in arcana. I mean, you are an Eldritch Scion, it made sense. I put a decent smattering into use magic device, not an amazing amount, but enough to put it up there. And I had to because again, your charisma really is kind of lackluster. We will be employing tricks that allow us to use power attack and scaring the shit out of the bad guys. Now that comes online late. We do not do like we do the Abyssal though, and get things like cleave, improved cleave, great cleave, and cleaving finish, and improved cleaving finish, and all that rigmarole. We do still get the other tricks though, the Cornigan Smash, because we do power attack. We do dazzling display up until then, but when Cornigan Smash opens up, that's definitely something you want. And then from there, Dreadful Carnage as soon as possible, which of course is like level 15, I believe. So that's the thing. We did get a meta magic feat, and I'll talk about that in a minute. At the first level, you do take dodge, and you do take, what did I take with dodge? I can't remember. Combat reflexes, there it is. Okay, so I really did. And that was because we are going with a two-hander, and in this case a Bardiche, that we did weapon focus and even greater weapon focus, which you do not have to do. I make this clear. I did it because we want to see how high we can push your swing. And we have a pretty solid swing, by the way. Even better when you do the transformation, of course, as you'll see. But the point is, I wanted to see it. We will buff up with things like Enlarge Person, which I would normally not do. And the reason for that is not only are we a strength-based build, so that +2 to strength is helpful, because we're wielding a two-handed weapon, that strength is actually magnified in as far as damage output. So again, also helpful. It's harder for us to hit opponents, but it's easier for us to hit them because their strength went up. So it's kind of a wash. It's a penalty because they're considered small to our size category, but it's a bonus because our strength went up and we're a strength-based character. This is the only reason I use things like Enlarge Person. It'll be easier for them to hit us, which means our armor class is going to suck. Our dexterity is also going to go down, which means it's easier for them to hit us again because our dexterity is going to suck. So that's a bummer. But I think you can handle it, and you'll be wearing heavy armor before too long anyway. The reason for Enlarged Person is not just the little tiny boost to strength, and that strength will boost with things like bull strength, potions, the strength bonus you get from transformation, because it's a size-based strength increase, not because it's an enchantment increase. So if you wear a belt of, giant strength +8 or whatever, it will still stack with that. So we'll get a +8 to strength from that, and we'll get a +2 from being Enlarged Person. So it's some kind of help, but the really reason for it is because it changes the size category of our weapon as well. So a 6-foot-long polearm like this goddamn Bardiche we're going to be swinging, I believe, turns into 10-foot range, and it doesn't tell you that, so you almost have to know how far away the bad guys are by just looking at it. And you can tell that you're swinging from a bigger range away. That's the selling point here, is you can tell that it really is worked this way. So within 10 feet of me when I'm enlarged, if, for example, somebody is screwing around and I can do an attack of opportunity, I get to up to 2 more attacks of opportunity thanks to my higher dex. Now, yes, my dex goes back down because I'm an Enlarged Person, but I at least get that +1 to my attacks of opportunity because my dex will still be at 12. When I wear gear, of course, I want to have that dex up, so again, it goes back up again, and you'll see that your attacks of opportunity will really start to land a lot more. So that's the reasoning behind that. If you didn't like the idea of a Bardiche, a glaive is available, Earthbreaker is available, but again, go for one that has the 6-foot range, because that's what we're talking about here. Another option, because remember, you're not a sword saint, so you're not married to any specific weapon. I could have gone weapon focus Bardiche, and then instead of greater weapon focus, which is, where the hell are you? Or did I not take it? I thought I took it. Blind fight. Oh no, I took blind fight instead. Okay, so like down here you have improved blind fight, which is amazing. You don't need it. If you didn't need that, then you could have taken something like another weapon focus and something like glaive, or rapier, or sword, longsword. You have many options, and again, you don't have to be two-handed all the time. You can go back to one-handed weapons. Having said that, a lot of people are like, why don't you pick longsword? There's a ton in the game. That's a viable option. You can always switch. Remember, you're not a sword saint, so because you have weapon focus don't mean much. However, some of the feats that we have, you literally have to have the chosen weapon. Your skill with your chosen weapon leaves opponents unable to blah blah blah. So I think, I don't know this, but I think that means that I had to have weapon focus in something. And if there's any feat that's tied to, that specifically says one of the requirements is weapon focus, then chances are that means you have to have that actual weapon in your hand to activate the feat, if that makes sense. So if that's true, then what you really want to say, yeah, your skill with your favorite weapon can frighten enemies. Again, while wielding a weapon in which you have weapon focus. So now if that's the case and you want to make sure you can switch weapons and still do your dazzling display, then you need to have weapon focus in something besides Bardiche. So that's why I suggest, if you don't like improved blind fight, for instance, then you just switch it and say, okay, get weapon focus longsword or weapon focus rapier. And one last point on that is a lot of people wrongly, I think, believe that, well, rapier is a weapon finesse thing, so you should have high dex and use that, right? No, a melee weapon is a melee weapon. Doesn't matter if it's a dagger or rapier. If it's a melee weapon, your strength score rules. So having high strength and a rapier still works for you. So feel free, if the rapiers are awesome in the game, and we know they are, feel free to grab a rapier for a weapon focus and run with it. I just wanted a two-handed weapon that has some really good range for when I get big, that'll have even more range. That was the rationale that I had here. We went with feats as we leveled up for the actual feats, not counting the Magus ones. We'll get to those in a minute. Again, we started with dodge, combat reflexes, weapon focus of something, in this case Bardiche, power attack, by level 5, and that's just because we knew we could kind of take that penalty and get that extra damage. And remember, being a two-handed weapon, we get even more damage output than the +2. We actually get a +3 per -1 penalty to our swing, so it's really nice. When we get Cornigan Smash, of course you need Power Attack to do that. While Power Attack's on, I basically intimidate those guys, so my Persuasion score is going to be important, which means my Charisma is important, which means my ability to scare people is going to be important, which is Intimidating Prowess, the reason for that one down there. Shatter defenses, when they're scared, shaken, frightened, panicked, that can be from spells or these effects that I'm slinging on them from intimidating the shit out of them. With Shatter defenses and Cornigan Smash, they get shaken from those effects, and that allows me to capitalize that, catch some bastard that's flat-footed. That's an amazing ability, and again, kind of hidden behind the wall of being a strength-based build because you need Power Attack to unlock this one. So again, really good, but again, the point is with the combo between Power Attack, Cornigan Smash, and Dazzling Display, all of themselves are pretty badass. And just so we're clear, a shaken slash frightened slash panicked character has a -2 penalty to their swing, to their saves, which is to your benefit because your DC checks suck, and some other fiddly bits like their skill checks and blah blah blah. But the point is that it's that -2 to their swing and the -2 to their saves that really is your bread and butter here. It's harder for them to hit you, and it's easier for your spells to land that have a DC check. That's why this is kind of cool. From there, toughness, I figured you are the tank up front in armor. Why not have some extra HP? And we actually put up a respectable number here at the end. We're not buffed in any way right now. 183 at level 20 is nothing to sneeze at. And of course we'll get gear to puff that constitution even more. Then of course you have spells like False Life and Vampiric Touch, which will stack and give you another potential 20 here. And if this one crits at maximum, that's another 120. So you could really put up a respectable number in this category. Now, you will never solo the whole game in this build, in my opinion. The reason for that is you're not a dodger. You don't have good touch armor class at all. So that's going to be a thing. You have good armor, and you'll have great armor once you finally get into things like your best heavy armor. But you will need a team. So know that. I'm not saying you can't solo. I wouldn't solo so much as I'd take a smaller team with me. Like a team of 4 is plenty. You and 3 others is actually ideal. You can get to 20 from what I hear by the end of the game with a team of 4, you and 3 others. So don't think that you have to solo the game to get to 20 even. You will totally get there if you just do all the little side quest shit and get as much XP to yourself as possible, which means shutting that XP share off and shutting off that XP share for people that aren't on the team. And then the XP only goes to the person that does the skill check. Now, granted, you're not going to have trickery, you're not going to have mobility, you're not going to have all those cool little ones. You do have athletics, and when those checks come up, you should be the guy that does that shit. Have your teammate buff you. You know, Lindsay with her little song, or, you know, like heroism or greater heroism to give you a little juice to your skills. And then, you know, scum save the shit out of that athletics check, because every little bit helps, and if you can out-level the team, when the team joins you later on, in many cases, from what I hear, they level up with you. So they just magically turn into whatever level you are. So if you're like 11 and they're like 5, that's fine, because later on you'll be 11 and they'll be like 10 or 11. So that's cool. Other stuff though, after toughness, you know, Arcane Strike. A lot of people misunderstand the importance of this one. This one is a swift action, like a toggle. You turn it on and you get a +1 all the way up to a +5 to your damage for whatever weapon you're using. Having said that, a lot of people are like, well, you know, I'm, you know, get these cool ass fighter feats right here because of my fighter training. Well, I'll just get weapon specialization and greater weapon specialization. That's a +2, then another +2, so a +4 to my weapon of choice. Okay, yeah, that's your weapon of choice, and a +4 is not +5, which is what this one has the potential to give you. However, this also makes it a magic weapon, whether it was or not. Now, that may not sound like a big deal because we can do all this wonderful making a magic weapon, but they stack in effect. So I can make it a +5 weapon here, and with this running, it's another +5 for the damage output. So I can have a +10 to my damage from this being on and activating this. That's pretty nice extra damage. And remember, we also have the extra strength and the multipliers from it being a two-handed weapon, and keeps going from there. This is really nice. So again, the only reason to grab weapon specialization then is if A, you can't cast spells, so you're not an arcane caster, so this would work for you. You don't even have access to it. Or weapon specialization is opening up some feat that you needed. You know, like greater weapon focus, or I don't even know what they are right off the top of my head. But the point is I know they're out there. So if you're building for that, that's fine. If you're not building for that, you just see that damage is, ooh, +2 damage. Get this one instead. If you have any kind of casting ability and it's in level 1, you get a +1. At level 5 caster, it becomes +2. At 10, it's +3. 15 is +4. And then all the way at 20, it's a +5 bonus to your damage. And the weapon is considered magic for as long as this is on. It shuts off periodically though, because it's a swift action move. Any kind of other swift action that you do will shut it off. So keep it on your tray, keep paying attention to that toggle. If it ever falls off, just reactivate it. And the worst part is it's on me right now. You see my +25. If I were to shut it off and I go back to this window, it would still say +25. So you're like, oh, it doesn't work. No, it just doesn't update till you swing at the next guy. And the same again, if I turn it back on and go to this window, it won't update again until I swing it at the next guy. So it should go down to +20 when it's off, and then when it's back on, it should go back to +25. But it doesn't reset this number here until you do another swing. So it does work. So don't freak out, but it's just glitchy when it comes to reporting it over here. From there, we have Dreadful Carnage, an amazing ability. This is the one where you basically kill a guy, and then a big explosion from your dazzling display goes off in everyone's effect, and you basically just scare the shit out of everybody. So leading everyone to be flat-footed, and then from there you get into your shatter defenses. So you just literally start destroying guys because everybody's shaking. Just boom, next guy, next guy, next guy. So this really is a nice build for this. Again, shame we're not getting the cleaves and greater cleaves and improved cleaves, so you're just not critting and critting and critting and killing and killing and killing and killing. That's okay. You still will like it. I did blind fight and improved blind fight at the end. One for sure, maybe not both. You'll notice that I, of course, as we leveled up, I took dazzling display, intimidating prowess. This is the one that turns your strength into, or strength modifier into your intimidate check. So adding with your charisma modifier. And I did that one versus the other one, the persuasive feat, which I would have picked up here, for instance, and grabbed something like toughness down there. Because while that one would buff our persuasive checks flat across the board, it also would have increased our perception checks flat across the board, which are definitely worth doing. But you're definitely a strength-based build, so we're going to get more bang for our buck with strength. And then, of course, gear that buffs our strength and that buffs our charisma will still benefit our intimidate check. So I'm like, well, I'd rather have whatever does the most intimidate. And this was the way to do it. If you didn't like that, though, the point is that you can get rid of this one and grab persuasive. You can't grab it down here, you'd have to grab it up here. But the persuasive one is the one that gives you, if you invest enough skill points into your persuasion and enough skill points into your perception, you'll get a +4 to each of those, which is nice. But this was giving me a +5 to that specific check that I needed, the intimidate check. Up to you. From there, what else? Intimidating prowess, and the last one was the meta magic extend spell. And I need to apologize first on something, because I said something wrong in a video a long time ago, because I just didn't understand the mechanics behind it, and I found out just yesterday. I want to correct myself. We were talking about various meta magics in another video, and one of the meta magics you can pick, besides extend, reach, empower, maximize, and quicken, is one called heighten. And I misread it. What I understood heighten to mean was that it literally keeps the spell at the same level. So you keep the spell at the level 1 spell, let's say Ray of Enfeeblement, and you heighten it. It still stays a level 1 spell, I thought, and then it becomes a +1 to the DC check. That's what I read when I read the tooltip. That is not what it does. What heighten does is, unlike these other ones, which is a set increase to the level. You see how Meta Magic Extend makes the spell a level higher. That does not increase the DC check of the spell. So again, back to our reference for Ray of Enfeeblement, a level 1 spell that has a duration, I can extend. And it costs me a higher spell slot, which is why you see the level increase +1 here. So I would have to cast it as a level 2 spell. It's still being treated as a level 1 spell for purposes of the DC check. What Heighten does is I can arbitrarily set the level. So a level 1 spell like Rave Enfeeblement, I can make it a level 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6 spell if I choose. And then it casts, the only thing it does is it casts it at those slots. So again, a level 2 spell would be a level 2 spell casting. But it's the DC check now of that level 2, or level 4, or level whatever that I make it. That's huge. So Rave Enfeeblement, which is not that great late game because, you know, it's a low level spell. So the DC check is literally, just so we're clear on what a DC check is, their number that they have to equal or exceed with their saving throw, which is literally based on their bonuses that you'll see like here. Let's say it's a fortitude save like Rave Enfeeblement is. They would have this bonus, and then they'd roll a 1d20, whatever those total up to. If they equal to or exceed the DC of the spell, then they pass their saving throw. The DC of a spell is calculated as follows. Base 10 plus the spell level, which in this case should be a 1 because it's Rave Enfeeblement, level 1 spell, plus your charisma modifier, in this case plus 3. So not very good, so we're looking at a 14 DC check. Right now I can pass it just by rolling a 1. Actually, I don't think that works that way because I think there is crit failures on these saving throws. So it'd have to be at least a 2. But you see the point, 2 to 20 is a really good range to be in for passing your check. So not the best spell. Ways to buff that would be to increase your charisma, your casting stat, in this case charisma, or to get things like spell focus, necromancy, greater spell focus, necromancy, things that would buff the DC check of any necromancy spell. That's a good way to do that. Again, this is not a DC build. But if I took Heighten, I could cast that same spell as a level 6 casting now, and instead of it being DC 10 plus 1 plus 3, it'd be 10 plus 6, because it's a level 6 spell, plus 3. So now a DC check of 19, which is not great, I'll grant you, but it's way better than a 14, and you see the point. So Heighten is actually quite powerful, and it makes your book really huge. You have to go into the book and change stuff, like I'll show you here in a minute when we do the extend meta magic. But the point is that it really opens up a whole huge amount of shit that you can do with a DC build. That I wanted to apologize for getting it wrong and for steering you in the wrong direction. I only thought it was just a +1 to the DC check. No, it can be a +1 to it. If you can cast level 9 spells, you can turn a level 1 spell like Rave Enfeeblement into a level 9 casting. That increased the DC check of that spell now by 8. That's huge. Now, yes, you're wasting a level 9 spell to do it, but if you really like the effect, some of those effects in these low-level spells are pretty whooping if they fail their check. Fear spell is a fine example. Cause fear sucks, but fear is not bad, and it steadily levels up, and it gets better and better, but it's a level 4 casting. Turn that into a level 6 spell now. It's a +2 to that DC check. That might be enough to make it land, man. I'm just saying. I didn't pick it for this build because we're not a DC build, but I could see the appeal. Other stuff, though, like I said, was with the extend, that really opens up our ability to pre-buff up. Note, I don't know if this was something that I never noticed before or just ignored it, or if it's something that they've added. Let's do some meta magic. So let's take a spell like Shield that we know we want to buff. Okay, you click it, click the meta magic, you see Shield's over here. If you didn't want Shield, like you clicked the wrong damn thing, you can go to your spell book here like this, stay this window open, and drag the spell. As long as they got the little circle above them here, you know that you can buff it with some kind of meta magic. And then again, you may have more than one. I only have the one, so I know what it can be buffed with. So let's say Shield spell. Okay? You gotta click that. Alternatively, you can just drag it to the circle. But if you just double click it, it usually fills itself in. You give it some kind of color-coded system, like double, single border on the bottom, however you want to do it, any of these colors. And again, colorless, which I don't know why you'd want to do that, but again, it's a thing. So you can color code it, and then you write spell. You see I've already done it. Now, you see how it's a level 2 casting. It's because of the extended meta magic makes it a level higher. Only in purposes of casting it, not for DC checks like we've said. And yes, I know there's no DC checks here, but it's the same as applicable for, say, Rave Enfeeblement. That's a level 2 casting because I extended the duration. It still will be cast, as far as the game is concerned, as a level 1 casting, as far as the DC check is concerned. But, notice something else. Here's our Shield spell. Okay. Notice how the casting time is a standard action. It's a typical spell. Notice what happens when we use meta magic on it. It's full round now. I never noticed that. I'm sorry, over here. It's a full round now. I never noticed that before. And I don't know if that's a new addition or what, but that's a lot longer, which means meta magics cast like this are going to take you some time. Now, good news is these are the buff spells that I'm using anyway, so I'm casting them outside of combat, so it doesn't matter that it takes me a full combat round to go shield spell now, because it's buffed, and I'm fine with that. But notice Ray of Enfeeblement went from, again, a standard action to I have to spend my entire combat round to zap you with this effect. Is that worth it? Maybe, but the point is I like the option, so at least I'm going to put it there. From there, I'll decide whether or not I want to cast it that way. Sometimes I might be out of all level 1 castings in the day, and I really need to debuff some strength on somebody. Oh, I have a level 2 casting. Yes, it's the only thing I can do in that combat round now. I can't attack because it's a full round action, so I have to waste my entire round casting this spell. But if that's all I have and I really need to do it, I'd rather have it in my repertoire than not. So I just point that out to you because that's going to be a thing. You may be like, well, this is really going to gimp your build because it's going to be slower and you're not going to get the bonus of attacking with your spell and attacking with your weapon because now it's a full round action. Yes, I know. But it's important to have options, and that's why we did this. You could just as easily have picked, instead of extend, reach is another fine example. Reach works on many spells. The ones that it wouldn't work on are ones like shield, because it's a personal effect. There's no reach to it, it's on you. And again, that's fine in many cases because I only need shield spell to be in this category maybe. It's nice to have it in another category, but I don't have to. The point is I'd like to be able to do Shocking Grasp maybe as a beam, ray spell at distance. So the reach meta magic would allow me to do that. I'd like to be able to shoot you farther away than medium range with Magic Missile. Because it's an auto-hit move, I like it to be as far as I can see. He's on the other side of my screen, but I can still hit him with Magic Missile because I'm using the reach version. Cool, you can do that. The only thing you can't really reach, besides the personal ones, are any spell that has a range of large or long or longest or whatever the hell it's called. But most of these aren't. I'm trying to see if I can find one that is. Here you go. Acid Arrow, you could not use reach meta magic on because it's already at long range. It won't do you a damn bit of good, and I don't think it even gives you the option then because, again, it's already at the maximum range the game allows, which is long. And that's a thing, so pay attention to those things because, again, if you were hoping to have multiple castings of Acid Arrow here and then at level 3 because you did the reach version, you wouldn't be able to. That's important. I could possibly extend it. As you can see, it's got the little circle, so I can extend it. I can't extend Scorching Ray, though. So again, if you wanted multiple castings of Scorching Ray, which as we know is better in many cases than Acid Arrow, then really I picked the wrong meta magic. I could have gone Reach, and actually it would have been kind of nice because that close range then would be a level 3 casting, but it would still be a range of, instead of close, it'd be medium, which is, just so we're clear on what that looks like. If you click this, see that's close range. Click Magic Missile and you'll see the circle change. This is going to be medium range. See how much farther that is? Not a lot, I'll grant you. This is, again, close to medium. It's not hugely epic, but it's still a much bigger circle. So you can see how, especially if they haven't noticed you yet, hitting them with this, they're probably going to see you when you start casting. But hit them with something like that, that's your long range, baby. That's huge. Chances are they haven't noticed you and you can hit them with that spell or something similar at long range. So then I'll take anything that's medium range like this guy here and be able to cast it at that distance. It's kind of cool. And again, that's what the reach meta magic is basically doing for you at the cost of another higher level spell slot. Back to build. Let's go for spells. Spells as we leveled up. First, we'll talk about the ones you got for free because they kind of suck. Cause Fear is decent at level 3s when you get it. You would normally not have access to this spell as any other Eldritch Scion, so that's something, so it's unique. It is a necromancy spell, it makes sense, and you will benefit from the Frighten. It's single target, but whatever. It's useful. And again, even if they make the save, they are, I want to say, shaken. So again, useful spell. They out level it though. Once you get to the point where they have 6 HD or more, they're immune to this effect. You can't use Cause Fear on them anymore. Scare, which we don't have either, is a level 2 spell. You can get it at level 19, but it's a waste. Because again, they out level that one, and by level 19, they're definitely out leveled it. Better than that, those at level 4, you can get, and I did not pick it up, a spell called Fear. And it's basically the same as Cause Fear and Scare. It's a cone, though. It is a fear effect, and you do not out-level it. So they could be immune to it because they're just immune to fear effects, but the point is it still has utility at level whatever, all the way up to level 20. So if you're going to pick a spell like that, then that's one you want to pick. This is free, so who cares? But it will be good when you get it. It'll be rapidly out-leveled. So you won't use it. Don't put it in your tray after it becomes useless. Level 2 spell you get for free is False Life. This is extra HP, and again, while not amazing, you do scale into it nicely. So you go from a minimum of 2 to eventually a maximum of 20. That's extra HP, and you are the tank, and it never hurts to be able to take a beating. And let's have them take it from the imaginary hit points first. So okay, and it lasts for a long time. So again, for a free spell, it's not horrible. It's not amazing, but I'll take a free spell. I would have rather have gotten Bone Shaker for free. I had to pick this at 19, but we'll get into that again later. At level 3, at least they give you something useful like Vampiric Touch, and if you think that the temporary hit points of 2 to 20 was nice, this thing can crit at maximum level at 20. We can crit with this thing and do 120 points of damage to the bad guy, and then do an extra 120 hit points to you, because you get the same hit points that you take away from them. So a maximum crit on this is 120. If it crit and you did Empower, wow. So let's think about that. So first, if you did Empower and it just happened to be the maximum damage just by pure dumb luck, it would be 90 points of damage to them and therefore 90 hit points to you. And then if it crit, it'd be 180 points of damage maximum it could do. It doesn't mean it will, but it could do 180 points of damage, and you would get that 180 hit points for an hour. That's a lot of hit points just given to you, man. And by the way, the Vampiric Touch hit point buffs stacked with the hit point buffs that you get from False Life. So I could have 20 from here and another 60 from there and have literally a plus 80 to my HP for several hours. This one would be only for an hour after you activate it, but this one is multiple hours in a day. So that's still a thing. And again, you know, for a tanky build, this is not the worst thing to get. You were going to pick it anyway. Every Eldritch Scion should pick this anyway, but you get it for free, so yay you, I guess. See, this one shows up, I want to say, at level 7, and that's actually the exact time that you get this anyway. This spell level opens up, so it's not bad. So it's perfect timing, really. At level 4, they give you a weird spell pick, and I'm not complaining about it, it's just odd, in that this is the only one of the only Eldritch Scion builds that get a summons as you level up, and this is one of them. So you get actually to animate the dead. Now you get this, it says at level 9, but you can't cast level 4 spells till level 10. Sorry, I had to do some math in my brain here, guys. So you don't get it immediately, but you will get it like the very next level. This is not, in my opinion, a bad spell. It's just rapidly at the end of the game, these guys will be fodder. That's still not horrible. Sometimes you need something to take the alpha strike. Sometimes you need something to distract the bad guys while you charge over there and beat their ass or buff up or whatever. So for a spell that's technically a summons, even though it's not, it's a necromancy spell, but it's a summoning of the dead, it actually summons very quickly. And that's good news, because the other summons, you know, for a conjurer, for instance, like when you summon the animals and whatever, that's a full action for casting time. So again, the full round of you goes 6 seconds, 6 seconds later, an animal appears. This guy's are standard action, and then I can go back into attacking. So it's reasonably quick, so it's kind of nice. And again, you get a decent number of those undead skeletons, and I'm fairly certain they're immune to cold spells, or as far as cold damage, I should say. So while Ice Storm will do bludgeoning damage to them, the cold part of it won't do shit. I just mentioned that because it's a nice effect. Also, things like Cone of Cold, they'd be completely immune to. So have them, tank for you for a minute while you take a step back, while you do Cone of Cold multiple times to their face. With anything they're fighting will take damage, probably, and they won't be hurt at all. Kind of cool. Just saying, good combat tactics. But again, that's free. I would not necessarily build around this. What I mean is there's going to be, like if you went Spell Focus Conjuration, there's 2 feats after that you can get after you get Spell Focus Conjuration that buffs summons. I think at least one of them works on this. One's called Augment Summoning, which is a +4 to Strength and +4 to Constitution. Basically toughen them up. And that's for any summons. I don't know if this is considered a summons, so I don't know that that's works for these guys. But you need that feat to get the next feat, which I believe does work on this one, and that's called the Superior Summoning, where if you summon more than one, or summon more than one of something, in this case the Undead Skeletal Champions, then you get another +1 to that summoning. So in my case, instead of 1d4 + 2, it should be 1d4 + 3, and I believe that does work, which means there's a minimum that will show up will be 4, a maximum of 7 in this instance. And I believe that works. And if that one works, then probably the Augment Summoning works too. It's entirely possible that I'm just remembering wrong and neither work, but that's something you could test for your build. But I'm not a fan of it because, again, you'd have to get 1, 2 feats at least to have any effect, 3 feats to get both of the effects, and that's even if they work. Yes, you would bump your DC checks of your conjuration spells, and you do have some. We didn't pick many, but I think Stinking Cloud is a conjuration. Yeah, so is Cloud Kill. That's a conjuration, so that'd be okay. You're not getting uber with your DC checks on that, so go crazy with it or nothing. But again, if you were going to be a conjurer that picked a bunch of summons, like summon pets of this and summon monsters of that, then both those feats would be valid. Downside of that is again, you don't get any of those summoning spells until level 19. So, I wouldn't build around it, is my point. From there, after Animate Dead is free, you get Waves of Fatigue. Now, this one's not bad. You get it late, of course, in the game, but it has no save. Spell resistance is applicable, and all it is a cone. But if they're not immune to fatigue and don't have any spell resistance, you will fatigue anyone that's in this cone. That's a -2 to Strength, -2 to Dex. And while that's not amazing, especially at this level of a spell, it's guaranteed. And it's definitely then, if they're attacking you, unless they're using a spell, for instance, their Dex and their Strength went down -2, which means they have a -1 to their attack bonus guaranteed, and possibly even a -1 to their damage, and a -1 to their armor class. So it is helpful. It's not amazing. It is helpful. And if you want to hit them with reflex spells, -2 to Dex is a -1 to reflex. So you did help yourself with the DC check there. Not, again, amazingly so, but it's something. So it's not a wasted spell, in my opinion. It's just not a great one. I'd rather hit them with Fear, quite frankly, over this one, but they didn't give it to you. The last one they give you is not bad. Again, situationally, Undeath to Death is decent. It's just not great, but it's decent. So, you can kill undead like no one's business. Kind of cool. Later on, you notice I did pick up Circle of Death, with one of the necromancy spells that you had access to. But let's go through some of those picks that we did go through, okay? Again, this one was free. This one I picked as I leveled up, no big deal. The next one that I picked up for free at level 19 was Bone Shaker. And I did this because it's auto hit. It's got a decent range, and it scales well. And even if they make the Fortitude save, they will take half damage. So all those dodge and ninja, reflex and ass hats, I can still hurt them. And as long as I can cast a spell, he will take this damage, unless of course they're immune or have spell resistance, blah blah blah. But even if he makes his Fortitude save, he will take damage. That's not bad. From there, I didn't pick anything else. I was proving to myself I didn't take anything else here. Yep. Nothing at level 3 that I picked up. I did pick up, though, Bone Shatter and Innervation, both at level 19. They're late in the game, but it's what it is. Bone Shatter, again, just like Bone Shaker, auto hit move, close range now, but that's okay. It scales well, does more damage than the other one at the highest level, and even if they make their save, not only do they take half damage, they become fatigued. -2 to Strength, -2 to Dex, which is helpful. if they fail to save full damage and they become exhausted. That's a -6 to strength, -6 to dexterity, and then a -3, of course, then, as implied, to not only their dodge, armor class, if that's a thing for them, which not always is, but if it is. Also -3 to their damage output, if they're a strength-based character. Also, a -3 to their reflexes. So it's a lot that you get from one little spell that's auto-hit. Yes, it's close range, but you're a tank. You can take that shit. So, bone shatter to your heart's content. From there, Innervation is highly overlooked, and I keep forgetting to grab it on many of my builds because I keep forgetting what it does. You see the 1d4 temporary negative levels, and you're like, yeah. Well, let me tell you what one negative level does. Okay? So -1 level, guaranteed, throws them into a -1 to their attack bonus, -1 to all their saves, messes up their skill checks and ability checks and blah blah blah. But basically those two things right there are your selling point. They're less likely to hit, and it's easier for your DCs to land because their saving throws suck. And here's the other fun fact. Every -1 level is a guaranteed -5 HP to the target. Well, again, that's no big deal. Even if you maximize this spell, that's 4 levels. That's only a -20 HP per zap. So, meh. But the levels stack. So I can zap you to the point where you basically are just dead. And it's not because of -HP. It's dead because you are negative levels. Like literally you're a level 4 character that's now on a level -2. Well, that means you don't exist, which means you die from Innervation. That's pretty cool. Now, it's not as awesome as the higher version of this, which is called, I think, Energy Drain. We don't get access to that. But still, you can get this one, now granted only at level 19, and you can maximize it or empower it. So that's a thing. So you can guarantee you that 4 levels are going to zap that bastard. Now, think about what you can do with a character that even if he doesn't die, let's say it's a boss fight, as long as he's not immune to this, it's a raise spell, so you have to do it to hit check. There's no save, and as long as he's not resistant and you don't miss your mark, he has a -4, let's say, because you maximized it, to all his saves for the next several hours, which of course means this fight. So the hours don't really matter to you. But the point is, he has a -4 to all his saves. You're telling me you can't capitalize on that shit? I'm telling you, you will really like Innervation. Again, late in the game, kind of a bummer, but it's what it is. So why I'm not real happy with the Undead, or any of the other ones, really. The only one that I really like, as you guys know, is the Arcane, which is why I will do a comparison video, making my own Necrolord using the Arcane Bloodline and compare it to this guy. This guy will feel more tanky, but you'll be much happier as a Necrolord, in my opinion, going Arcane Bloodline and focusing on necromancy spells with high DC checks. Anyway, those are 2 spells that I picked as I got leveled up. Other spells that I picked when I leveled up include Angelic Aspect, and I did this because, while you don't particularly care about the cold resistance, because you're already cold resistant 10 innately as an undead minion of the Horde. However, you get acid resistance 10, which can't be scoffed at, that's nice. You also get DR5, that's damage against physical attacks, your bludgeoning, your slashing, your piercing. 5, penetrated if it's an evil weapon. Now let's break that down. Remember, you have DR5/magic, which means if it's a magic weapon, it penetrates it. But any other physical attacks that aren't magic, you are resisting 5 of. By the time you even get this spell, you actually have increased that from DR5 to DR10/magic. So again, this is less. Why would you want this? Well, here's the thing. Many guys are going to have magic weapons. Are many guys going to have evil weapons? Maybe. But if they don't, you at the very least, while this spell's under effect, have a DR of 5. They won't stack. It's just whichever is the best effect gets applied. So if the DR10 is better, then that's what you have resistance on, and that's still pretty fucking tanky. If that falls away at the dodo because they're using magic weapons, and they probably are gonna at the end of the game for sure, if it's not an evil weapon, you at least are resisting 5, and that's something. Yes, there's a deflection bonus. You'll probably have a ring that passes on that. You also have resistance bonus against their saves, blah blah blah. But the point's still the same. You'll probably have a ring that's better than that. You won't need it. But it's there. It's really the DR5/evil and the acid resistance 10 that's the selling point for this one. And again, yes, it's late in the build. Can't be helped. From there, we also grabbed Circle of Death. An amazing spell, again, especially when you think in conjunction with Undeath to Death. Literally, I'm killing undead and I'm killing the living. With either of these spells to great effect. And you would think that would cover everything. Sadly, in the magical world, it does not. However, we cover quite a bit this way. And for instance, the reason I say that it doesn't cover everything, magical beings being what they are, they made things like those little colossus son of a bitches that walk around. What do they call those things? Constructs. The constructs aren't undead, and they're definitely not living, so they don't fall in either category. So there's going to be guys out there that are just straight up immune to either of these spells. But the ones that aren't, which by the way include you, so don't use diamond dust on the ground right in front of you, because if it hits you, you will take damage. So be aware of that shit. But it's again a pretty nice spell. I did that one, and then I did Eye Bite. And this one's a little weird. This one has no save per se. There's a save to get out of the effects that they could land. If they're lower level characters, HD of less than 5, they have 3 effects slapped on them. They become sickened, they become frightened, and then they're paralyzed. From 5 to 9 HD, they're not paralyzed, but they are frightened and they're sickened. And again, saving throws I don't think are applicable in that case. Then, if they're 10 or more, which is why this one scales well, 10 or more, they're not frightened or paralyzed, but they are at least sickened. And just so we're clear, what sickened does is a -2 penalty to all kinds of shit, which includes saves as well as attack bonus. Other stuff too, but those are the 2 that I'm focusing on, because that's all I really needed to know. And it's guaranteed, unless they're immune to this effect. Notice that there is no spell resistance to this effect. It is the equivalent of the stank eye from hell. You point at a guy, you're my bitch, and that's the guy that's debuffed. Doesn't matter if he's HD 10 or more, he's still going to be sickened. Unless he's immune to that effect, we got him. And that's a massive penalty to him. And because there's a duration on this, and you'll love this, I can switch targets. So even if I kill that son of a bitch, the toggle is still there. I just need to switch targets. So you'll see it in your abilities tray. So when you kill him off, switch targets to someone else and say, okay, now you're my bitch, and go after that guy, because now they're debuffed. Again, a very cool spell. Sadly, at level 19, but what are you going to do? So, that's the free picks at level 19. Everything else, you can see what I have. The staple, the typicals. I mean, I grabbed Raven Feed, but I probably would have grabbed it anyway. And again, Enlarge Person is not a typical pick for me. Expeditious Retreat is normally in here. And I do feel it and I do miss it. So of course I'll grab like a Wand of Expeditious Retreat or potions and scrolls and whatever else to kind of give me that ability back. But I do miss it. I dig Grease because Grease is always good. Maybe this was a later pick than it should have been. But I do love my Magic Missile, Shield Spell as a standard, Shocking Grasp because duh, I'm a Eldritch Scion, I'm a Magus man. So I have to get that one, I have to get Frigid Touch, and I have to get Vampiric Touch. Now fortunately I got that one for free. But level 2, Blur, Effortless Armor, because you are going to be wearing armor. I thought, you know what, I really need this. Now maybe I grabbed it a little too soon, but by the time I grabbed it, we're right in that medium armor range where it's starting to be a problem. And this is really only important if you really give a damn about, say, your athletics check, which we do have points in. So I figured, what the hell. I do like, of course, the fact that it reduces or removes the reduced speed from wearing heavier armor, so that's kind of cool. So I'm still as zippy as always. That's kind of nice. But Blur and Mirror Image are staples. Frigid Touch is a staple. Scorching Ray and Acid Arrow are kind of obvious ones for me. And again, since we don't have high DC checks, spells that don't have DC checks are kind of your bread and butter here. I don't mind Bone Shaker, as we mentioned before, because of the ability that even if they make the save, they still take damage. From there, Haste as a staple for some extra attacks around, some extra armor, all good buffs here and teammate friendly. And you will be on a team. Lightning Bolt, just because I want to be a little different this time than Fireball, and you'll see I grab Control Fireball. But Vampiric Touch for free, Stinking Cloud for some fun, and again, as long as you're immune to poison or have a high fortitude save, this is not that big of a deal to stand in, and it screws them over big time, especially caster types. So really fun, cast at range, displacement for obvious reasons. I went Dispel Magic this time because what the hell. And I went that and slow for an obvious debuff, and again teammate friendly, so why not? And while again your DC checks aren't amazing, I don't mind DC checks on spells that have AoEs like this, because you're more likely to hit at least one guy that just fails that check. Now, can it be that you have all of them pass it? Yeah. Can it be that all of them fail it? Also, yeah. So it's kind of why I don't mind these ones. It's the single target ones that kind of suck for us, in my opinion. Level 4, Dimension Door and Dragon's Breath. You know I love those. Again, Undead we got for free. Stone Skin. Going along with the same argument that we had for, well, you're immune to physical damage DR5 and then DR10 by this point against anything that's not magic. Why do you need this spell? Again, is it an adamantine weapon? Because if it's a magic weapon, I have no resistance. If it's an adamantine weapon, I also have no resistance with this spell. But if it's an adamantine magic weapon, then again, we're back to being screwed. But again, if it's just an adamantine weapon, then this one doesn't do me any good, but the other one does. If it's just a magic weapon, the other DR10 doesn't give me any protection, but this one does. So I still have protection. It's layers, right? Whichever one is applied is the one that I need. If all of them are ignored, like again, if it's an adamantine magic weapon of evil, this spell and the other spell and the special effect that we have isn't going to do us a goddamn bit of good. But that's why we have armor, right? So hopefully you got some other reasons to protect yourself. But this still helps, is my point. I went controlled fireball because we didn't get fireball in the last one, and if you're going to have a team, I figured why not get the controlled fireball version. Dragon's Breath, of course, for all the different elemental damage. You know I love that. Shout, because again, it's the one that's missing from this is, again, sonic damage. And, again, an effect even if they make their save, because it's a fortitude save, not a reflex save. They will still take half damage. It's not amazing damage, but it's there. And again, if they fail their save, it's full damage, and there's that stun. It's not amazing, but it's there, and it helps. Again, we picked those up. We already talked about those. And the last pick, I couldn't think of anything that I wanted. I went Ice Storm. Yeah, there's like a buff, like you can do the fire shield that's around you, where if they hit you, they take fire damage. But I always forget to add those things to myself. So I said, screw it. I have undead that are at least immune to the cold aspect. So I could slap that shit down. While they'll take some bludgeoning damage from me, they won't take the full front of it, because they won't take all the cold damage, because they'll be immune to that. So that's helpful, I suppose. And that's not that I want to cast it on my undead army. It's just if they just happen to wander into it while I'm casting, that's not the worst thing ever. Level 5, Cloud Kill. You know my boss killing moves, and we'll exploit them to great effect. Elemental Body is still useful for you, even though you are, going to be immune to cold and have all kinds of other shit going for you, like you're immune to crits or something else at level 20. That's way down the road. But this stuff does help more than you think. Acidic Spray, Cone of Cold, and Fire Snake are good spells for damage. Acidic Spray first, simply because it pulses the damage. So not only is it the same amount of damage as Cone of Cold or Fire Snake, just a different elemental type. If they fail their save, it surges for another round for another acid burn. So it actually is more damage than either of these. This one's teammate friendly, so if that's a concern, then maybe grab Fire Snake before Cone of Cold. But since your skeleton army is immune to cold, that's why I grabbed Cone of Cold first, because they can be up and in their grill, and I can stand behind them and just Cone of Cold, Cone of Cold, Cone of Cold, and it doesn't do shit to my army, and hopefully it hurts them. So, it's up to you. Battle tactics. We already talked about these guys. Don't need to talk about them again. Now, Sirocco, I love that AoE move, fire damage, and one of the few evocation fire damages out there that instead of being a reflex save is actually a fortitude save. So kind of nice. This is one that also will fatigue them, and then if it lands again, because it's multiple rounds that they're stuck in the Sirocco probably, then they could be exhausted with the second hit. I think that means that if they're already fatigued, then the first hit would make them exhausted. If that's the case, then you see some real good uses of waves of fatigue right here. So this one here, remember that one's reasonably guaranteed to make them fatigued. -2 to strength, -2 to dex. Then slap down Sirocco in front of the son of a bitches. They're already tired. It's not going to help when it comes to the fortitude save, but they're already tired, so that when this one lands, hopefully that means that they will go from being fatigued to straight to exhausted. That's kind of cool. Transformation for obvious reasons. Who doesn't like being the better fighter? Now, again, pie in the sky, last minute dream here. Don't use this shit unless it's the last spell you have and you just need to be buffed. Because if you're really relying on your fighting prowess instead of your spells, then you probably should have just went Sword Saint, in my opinion. Umbral Strike. I just picked it, quite frankly. There's plenty of Bray Beams in here. I've just picked it because, again, it's a necromancy spell for no other reason than that. It's got a good range at least, and it's different damage type. So cold / negative energy is kind of cool. Ignores the concealment, so you gotta love that part, except for total concealment. So yay us. Raise spell, we're not great at them, but by now you have a decent enough BAB that I think you can get away with it. And of course, if they fail their save, again, a fortitude save, which you gotta love, then they take not only full damage, but they're also blind for the duration of the spell, which is to your benefit. And even if they make the save, they just take half damage and they're not blind, so they still has an effect. And I love the medium range on it because that's really nice range. Hellfire Ray is close range, but you know the damage potential of this bastard, so I don't need to rehash it here. Circle of Death and all these other ones we talked about later, but Acid Fog is the last pick that I take at level 20. For, again, the fact that, you know, we could be immune to at least 10 of that acid damage with casting this spell, the one that's over here, and then cast this one at our feet, and at maximum damage, this spell is only going to do 2 points of damage to us, max. Normally, as long as we don't maximize the spell, it's going to be non-existent damage, and they're constantly taking damage while they're in it, assuming they're acid sensitive, right? So that's, again, a good battle tactic, and I still like to employ it, especially since you're going to be up and in it. And I think that's a pretty good spell list for you. Again, you won't feel like a Necrolord per se, but it is pretty goddamn cool. And again, just to re-emphasize the class bonus that you get at the level 20 shit, besides your True Magus, which of course is awesome, you get this DR5 where it can't be penetrated. And that's nice. So again, even if your Stone Skin spell, you know, they have adamantine weapons, even if your DR10 against magic, against all damage except for magic weapons, if they have a magic adamantine weapon, and of course that other spell, even if they have an adamantine magic evil weapon, and they could penetrate all that shit, they're not penetrating this. DR5 guaranteed. So you're always tanky, you know, from start to finish. You're always going to feel reasonably tanky. Well, not start to finish, but from level 3 on up, you're going to feel pretty beefy for not taking physical damage. Immunity to cold is not amazing. You can't really capitalize it per se for yourself, but it does help. And then immune to paralysis and sleep, you know you want that. And I don't mind the bonus to saves against undead spells and spell-like effects, I suppose, is something. Again, I just don't feel Necrolordy in this way, because I'm not zinging all the necromancy spells out at them. I feel like a tank. I feel more like, instead of a Necrolord, I feel like a almost like a goddamn undead knight, really, is probably what I would call this character. I would call him an undead knight, because that's what he feels like. He feels like someone that was brought back to life to lead the army, right? That's what he is. He's not the Necrolord, not the one in charge. He's the the captain of the guard, so to speak, from the undead army. And that's what I feel like with this one. The spell-like ability, I don't really talk about it, but we should. The Grasp of the Dead is an amazing ability. It's physical damage, just so we're clear, so it's not like elemental or anything weird. It's straight up slashing damage, so if they're resistant, then it's going to be a thing. But it scales well, and you get multiple castings per day as you level up. So at 9, you get 1, 17, you get a second, and at 20, you get 3 times a day. There is a DC check for them to be basically locked in place. Reflex save for half damage. Those who fail the save are unable to move for 1 round. So that's basically paralysis, but for only 1 round, and you can't hurt yourself with this shit, so be careful where you cast this. It's got a nice AoE effect. But it's good. And again, without a really decent charisma modifier, the DC check's going to kind of suck. But it's not going to be horrible. And at level 20, it's going to be at least a 23, because we have a +3 from charisma, and it's half your sorcerer level is added to it as well. So, or in this case, our Eldritch Scion level. So it'll be a 10 + 10 + 3 minimum at level 20, which isn't great, but at least you'll catch a lot of guys in it. And it's almost to the point where you forget you have it, and you're like, oh, I'm out of spells. What the hell am I going to do? Wait, I got this thing here. Oh, what does this one do again? Oh, yeah, boom, boom, boom. 3 back to back to back and kill a goddamn room real fast, because it does decent damage. It's like 1d6 per level. So a 20d6 at level 20 times 3 times you can cast it. That's a big owie, AoE style. So it's not bad. I kind of dig it. Other than that, know that you have the ability to use mind-affecting spells on undead. We don't have any that I can think of except for maybe like fear or cause fear or shit like that that are mind-affecting per se. They have to say mind-affecting though in the title of this, or in the descriptor of the spell. And the reason that this sucks for us is, and then you'll see this part of my beef for not feeling like a Necrolord, is this really would be awesome if we had access to some of those enchantment spells. We don't get the access to them until level 19 with these 6 free picks here. And you're probably not going to pick them there. So, who cares? Again, it's one of those where you may have 1 or 2 spells that they gave us for free. Like, I don't think that that's a mind-affecting spell. I think this might be, though, Cause Fear. But again, you're going to out-level that quick. But for those undead that are low levels early in the game, there's a couple. You could probably scare them. Which, again, is still something, I suppose. But it's lackluster for us. This is better for the sorcerer. Obviously, this is where this came from. And you'll see this as a main complaint for me for many of these builds. Fae, for instance, have a bonus to compulsion effects. That +2 to their DC. Same with the devils, not the abyssal, the infernal bloodline has a +2 to charm spells, which I assume, since there are no charm spells in this game, they really mean compulsion or enchantment spells. And if that's true, again, that'd be amazing. But we don't get enchantment spells at all until level 19. So it's a useless bonus for us. It's great for the sorcerers because they have access to the whole spell book. So from day one, they have access to enchantments. We don't. So while it looks good on pen and paper, in practice it sucks balls. Now, having said that, this is why I bring this up as the final point here before we play this a little bit and show you what he can do. I think I can make a better Necrolord or Enchanter or Evoker or what have you as an Eldritch Scion with the Arcane Bloodline background. I can literally make a better necromancy tune, in my opinion, than this one. Staying in the same thing of Eldritch Scions. Pure Eldritch Scion, level 1 through 20, no dipping into Monk or anything funky. Just staying 1 through 20, Eldritch Scion, the Arcane. Why? I don't get all these cool fiddly tanky bits and all these free spells that are necromancy spells that feel great, but you out-level, that are decent, but who cares, that are nice, but you were going to pick it anyway. This is the only one that really sticks out as being, hey, cool. And then these ones, of course, here are not bad. I'm not going to kick them out of bed or anything like that. But Undead to Death is decent. And Waves of Fatigue, I'll take it. It's free. I wouldn't necessarily pick this one for free. I might pick that one for free. But remember, as the Arcane Bloodline, instead of having spells only available at 19 that unlock, I can pick all those cool necromancy spells that you can't. At level 9, I get one. And at 13, I get another one. And at 17, I get another one. And then I still get the same 6 that you get down here. That's why I say I can build an Enchanter, an Illusionist, an Evoker, whatever, through the Arcane Bloodline better. And the Arcane Bloodline gets high DC bonuses, which is why I think I can sell that to you. So the point is when I do that, I'm going to come back to this build and compare his spells and his survivability to the Arcane Bloodline Necrolord build directly on pen and paper to show you what they're talking about, comparing apples to apples as best I can. And show you why I think I can make a better build. Will it be a strength build? Hell no. He'll be a pussy-ass dex build, I guarantee it. But he'll have high dex and a really high charisma, lots more spells, access to better spells because of the level 9, 13, and 17 free ones. And I get to pick and choose. I'm not shoved ones I don't want. I get to pick the ones that I do want as I level up, and then I finally have access to like really good ones here, here, and here. And then of course the 6 down here just are gravy on top. So I won't get all these cool little tanky buff bonuses and weird shit like that, but I will have high DC checks. And I think I can make a convincing build for any of those types that will hold their own and feel better than this guy or the Infernal Bloodline or the Fey Bloodline. What I can't do is I can't match the strength for the Abyssal. That's just going to be a thing. And in the similar vein, I can't match the strength / damage of the Draconic Bloodline. For the Elemental Bloodline, I won't have the utility of switching my spells to acid or fire or cold or whatever element I pick. But I still think I can make a convincing, fire starter or ice bitch, whatever you want to focus on. Again, as the Arcane Bloodline compared to an elemental that does water / cold damage, or an elemental that does fire damage. And I will show you those builds still, and I'll show you the direct Arcane Bloodline comparison to them later. I think that will be interesting. But let's actually play this one a little bit and show you what you guys got. So I am here. I want to make sure that I got my gear. Yeah, I got Had to stock up on some dinosaur bones / diamond dust. I don't remember which one I need, but I know I need at least a diamond dust to cast a couple of spells. I couldn't cast them earlier with my other video, and I literally had to delete the video. It just pissed me off. So I rested up, going inside. That's why I have gear, by the way, in the first place. Before we get in there, of course, I want to make sure that I have armor on. I don't have any, so I've been relying on mage armor potions. They last for an hour. It's really cheap and easy, 50 gold pieces to get, so feel free to grab them as you play around with this DLC. I sold literally my studded leather that they started you with. I'm hoping that they'll give me some armor that I can actually use, like a chain shirt or better, and just go from there. But until that time, mage armor's fine, and I still get my full dex bonus. Let's get inside. Where are we? Looks like this way, maybe? I want to show you some of the spells and effects and things that we have going for us. Now, of course, we have our dazzling display early on. That is literally you raising your weapon in the air, and a big fart cloud kicks off of you, and it scares the shit out of guys, where it basically intimidates them. That's going to be better as we level up, where our persuasion gets higher, and of course any charisma-based gear is going to benefit from that. And of course, because we have the high intimidating prowess one, where we use our strength modifier, that's going to be any strength bonuses that we have will be to our benefit. Now you'll see that I have nothing in the belt. I'm not using anything that's not just normal toggles that you're seeing down here or over here. I do want to buff up, so I do have mage armor on. So let's grab shield spell. Let's grab enlarge person. Remember, I want to be the bigger size category. I'll buff my strength a little bit as well. If I was wearing heavy gear, which I would suggest when you finally get heavy armor, get the best one you can. Effortless armor will be useful, if for no other reason than the speed problem. So that's the thing. I could buff up with false life as well, I suppose. Normally I wouldn't waste a spell on it, but I can at least showcase some of the free shit you're getting. So here's some extra 18 hit points for you, yay us. And again, maximum on that would be 20, so that's not bad. I could do mirror image, I could do blur. I'll do blur. Normally I would do a waste. These guys are going to be low level even to us. We're way over leveled for this content right now. But showing some of the cooler stuff that we can do. Giant spiders, hate them. We have picked up maximized magic and extended magic. You'll see that, and the reason for this is you have a lot of spells that you wouldn't mind having the full effect landing. A 60 extra hit point to you is a really nice buff for an hour, so that's why I grabbed that one. You don't have to. Again, you know, my extended, for obvious reasons, for buffing our stuff up. I don't have to take this one, and matter of fact, being that later on I decided to pick up the extended meta magic feat, I could probably forego this altogether. However, this is still useful, and there's no reason not to just kick it on and use it. And it is useful in that it doesn't cost me the full round of casting. While that's no big deal for my buffs, you know, my shield and my mage armor or false life or whatever I wanted to extend meta magic style, for spells that have durations to them, for effects, like Frigid Touch has that 1 round of stagger. I could double that stagger guaranteed by doing extended magic and then clicking Frigid Touch on the target. That's a thing. And it wouldn't cost me the full combat round to cast it, because it's a quick and easy extended magic effect. Poof, you activate it, then you activate a spell. I could do it for, to give you for instance, I could do it for things like, where is it at? The Enervation has a amount of time associated with it. Now 1 hour is not that big of a problem, but if it was like 1 round, again, for a negative effect on a bad guy, I'd rather have it extended, right? So I could do that and not be penalized. I could do that for Shout has that stun. Again, it's only 1 round, so doubling it to 2 is helpful, but not that helpful. I could do it for Cloud Kill. I could do it for, I don't have many things I could do it for. I thought I did. Sirocco I could do it for. I could do it for blind effect. The blind effect is 1 round per level. There you go. So I could extend that one so it's double. So instead of it being 20 rounds, again, assuming they fail their save, it would actually be 40 rounds. Now, chances that the fight would last that long is probably not true. I could do it, though, for something like Eye Bite. That's a nice one. And that's more of a toggle, but it's a negative effect on a bad guy. And the duration is only going to be 20 rounds for me because I'm a level 20 character. I'd like that being 40, and I'm going to cast that in combat because one enemy creature within close range, you have to be pointing at somebody. You don't have to be in combat per se, but it's going to initiate combat for sure. Let's actually activate that little bad boy. So let's do this. Then Eye Bite. Notice how fast it was. If that was actually extended, which I don't think I could even do because it's a level 6 casting, right? Yeah, I can't even use my extend meta magic on it. But the point is if it was, it would have taken me a full round of 6 seconds of pointing at the son of a bitch, and by then chances are they're already in my face. This is quick, fast, and in a hurry. That's what we like. Now he's been debuffed. Notice he did his fortitude save. More likely than not, that's kept him from being paralyzed. But he's still sickened and he's probably frightened. So at the very least, the sicken is going to land unless he's immune to that shit. I don't see anything that says that. We didn't inspect him, sadly, so that's kind of a bummer. Always make sure that your Arcane Strike is on. That's why this is down here. And then we have yet to buff up with our weapon, but I'm just going to buff up generically for 1 minute. Boom. Now that's our they died and they intimidate everyone around them effect. That's the level 15 ability, demoralize something or other. Boom. Another big solid hit. Notice the effects on these guys. If you zoom in on them, you'll see them kind of quaking. Unless they're immune. You see the little haze around? It's kind of yellow, but it's like a gray haze around them. That's coming from your intimidate effect. So that worked out well. Moving on. Also, by the way, remember I told you I had Eye Bite. It lasts for a time. We already killed the guy, but you see we have the ability to switch targets. It's up here in your abilities tray, and you'll see it here in time. And we doubled the duration of that. So what should have been 2 minutes is now a 4-minute buff, or debuff, as soon as we find another target. So remember, you have the ability to do that. And that thing is going to be your money maker, because literally guaranteed sickened, unless again the immunity and all that fun shit, but a guaranteed sickened is like a -2 to attack bonuses for sure, and a -2 to save at least. There's more than that, but those are the 2 that I focus on. It's less likely he can hit me, and it's easier for my spells to land. That's a lot of bonus for me. I'm doing really bad at this. Oh, I have no lock picking ability like a dumbass. What is that one? That's Unholy Aura. Woot. How did they know? Alright, anyway, we're going this way. What else can I show you? I can show you traps that I can walk through and get hurt. Look at me missing stuff. Alright, from here, I would say obvious things to show you would be clear and obvious necromancy spells. Cause Fear will still work at this level. It is single target. These guys are not tough enough to resist it. He made a save. That's not our fault. The point is that it still would have worked, I believe, on them. They're low enough level. So early level, this could be good. But again, he's got a high will save that doesn't do me a whole lot of good. But on a fighter type, having them run away from you scared and everything is to your benefit, because if they're fleeing you in melee combat, attack of opportunity, baby. So I'm just saying that it is useful as well. It's just not useful through the whole game. Okay, now from there, another necromancy spell that you can pick and anyone can pick as they level up is Ray of Enfeeblement. It is a ray spell, so a touch attack will take place here. And again, I like this one simply because as long as I hit, and again, they're not immune to like the effect for whatever reason, the spell resistance and blah blah blah, they will take strength damage even if they make their save. Now in this case it was a critical hit, which means it probably did more strength damage. He succeeded in a saving throw, which just cut that in half, but again the critical hit resolves it, I think. So let's have him swing at us, and I did that because I can actually click it and see what his... Oh, he's a Dexter, so it doesn't even help. That's too bad. If he was a strength-based character, we would have seen a penalty to this. That's what I was hoping to see. But that's okay. We'll do it on the next one late that comes our way. I'm fairly certain that those doofuses are strength-based. Sure, I'll take those. Why not? From here, other things. Again, don't forget your incorporeal form. Another tanky move that you have. That's this little once a day clickable that literally makes you incorporeal. So no damage from non-magic weapons. Half damage from any source not dealing ghost, holy, divine, or forged damage. And you can use this once a day. And it lasts for 1 round per Eldritch Scion level. I think you get this at like level 9 or 10. It's an amazing ability. And I almost forget that I have it. Don't do like me. Do like I tell you. Do like I say, not as I do. Don't forget that you have it, because it really is that good of an ability. Notice one of the activations of something here shut off my Arcane Strike. I don't know what it did, but you're almost always going to turn that thing back on. We don't even need to have them displayed in our trade now, because we only needed it to unlock some stuff. But until you unlock that stuff, you can use it in combat. I'll show you just to show you. It's a clickable. Just get into combat within range, click it. You'll raise your weapon, and poof, fart all over the place, and you're debuffed. See that little aura of grayness around them? That's the shaken effect. So we just keep fighting, let them swing at us. There's one right there. Come on now. I'm killing too fast, I'm sorry. If you could have seen him attack me, didn't work on him. Might die. Ah, damn it. I was hoping for one of the mites to attack. I thought I saw him swinging. I must have killed him in mid-swing, so it didn't count his attack. Sucks for us. Point is you just seen the shaking effect under his penalties. Been like a -2 to his swing. This is really, really nice. So again, this is an effect that we can throw off. That's not a spell effect per se. We can't get it from spells. I'm just saying that this is another way to get it. And that's a really nice way for us to debuff the bad guys, and then of course we get our shattered defenses where they're flat-footed after that because they're shaken. And again, there's other ways to make them shaken that don't involve us using this ability. We have spells for shit like that too. So again, there's all kinds of ways for us to catch these doofuses flat-footed now, which is kind of nice. Let's see. I want to show you. Where the bad guys at? I hate not having expeditious retreat. We are so goddamn slow. All right. In here's got to be some bad guys. Okay, here we go. Here's a Nixie. And a Slurk. And a Mite. Okay, I'm thinking that Slurk deserves some Raven feedment upside his skull. What do you say? Slurk! Okay, so now the Slurk attacked. See that fear -2 shaken? That was our big fart move that we did on everybody. As long as they're affected by it, you'll see this in their attacks. The shaken also applies all kinds of other nastiness, which is why we can swing on them and it'll be more likely that we hit. So you see our Slurk is entangled somehow. We're entangled. Yeah, that's ours. He's flat-footed though, and that came from the fact that he is shaken. And we have that shattering defenses, or whatever it's called, feat, that when they're shaken, or you're frightened, or feared, or petrified, or whatever the hell they call it, basically if he's scared in any way, they basically are flat-footed for our next attack in that combat round, which is why we can do shit like this and just constantly slapping dudes down. Now here's our Nixie. Notice my reach on this, by the way. I'm hitting with a weapon, but because I'm so tall, a 6-foot reach actually extends even farther. And that's why I say that you'll notice the reach range when you're actually in combat. It's actually quite impressive. Let's see. Sadly, it doesn't say it on the weapon if you do this and just use info on it. Being that we've modified ourselves, you think it would modify this too, but it doesn't tell you. But again, if I were to shrink back to normal human size and attack her with the 6-foot range, I'd be standing right about here. So it's about a 10-foot range from what I've been told. So you do notice it, that's for damn sure. From there, let's see what other things can I show you. Well, let's see about this Grasp of the Dead spell-like ability that you have. This one's really nice. Again, you can hurt yourself with this shit, so be careful. Don't stand in it. You see who lights up with it with arrows underneath the spinning circle on their feet. See how I don't have the spinning circles that are hash marked? Now I do. So just make sure you cast it just outside of your range and your team's range as well. And this will be what it does 3 times a day. That was huge damage. 84 damage. It's a 20 d6. It's however many d6 is your caster level, your Eldritch Scion level. So literally we are level 20, so 20 d6. I think you get this at like 9, level 9. So it would be a 9 d6, which is still once a day. That's a 9 d6 AoE, and it's physical damage, not fire damage or anything weird like that. It's literally physical damage, which is not usually resisted, I'd say, at least to this level. And there is a save. Let's see if they showed it. Spell resistance. There it is. Reflex save. Saving throw failed. That's the one where literally if they fail the reflex save, not only do they take full damage, just have half. They also, there's a grapple effect, like a paralysis effect from the undead hands coming up from the ground and grabbing at them, right? So it literally holds them in place for a round. So that's what that is. So if they would have survived it, you would have seen the swirlies on their body to let you know that they're, I don't know if it's paralyzed, but it's basically helpless. It's, whatever that is, it counts and it's to your benefit. Trust me, that they're held in place. And again, we get that 3 times a day at level 20. You only once a day at level 9, and then again it shows up, I think, again at level 17 for a 2nd time a day. From there, what else can I show you? Alright, let's go back to our spells. We already did our Fear and our Ray of Enfeeblement stuff. We already know about our False Life and when you should use this. Remember, we don't have armor yet, so that's still not a big deal. Of course, the Vampiric Touch. This is, again, why we have things like Maximize Magic. Wait a second. Killed him too fast. I didn't get the spell off. Boom. But when it does work, like I said, that's at level 20. It'll be a 60 guaranteed damage unless they're resistant to unholy damage for some reason, or you miss, obviously, or 120 if you crit, which is of course a maze balls. But you have to crit. From there, other things I want to show you. Other things I want to show you will be things like of course, animate dead. Okay, we can show you the pets. Oops, I checked you again. I did not check you. I'm a bad man. Ooh, cloakness. +1 and a +2. I'll take the +2. Thank you. Go in here and let's see if we can find. There you go. We're going to animate the dead. Now again, if this was a summons, like a summon monster, summon elemental, or any of that other shit that the conjurers would do, it would take a full goddamn round. We're in combat. We ain't got time for that shit. We have animate dead. Watch how fast this goes off. Just any other spell, poof, and they're there in your face. I love that shit. I like this. All the summons is one of my favorites anyway, so I'm pretty happy that we do get this. And reasonably early. Again, this is like a level 9 pick. Doesn't last long, but then you can extend it. And you can extend it this way, and you can extend it with meta magic. So that's a thing. It can also be, I believe it can be empowered, and I believe it can be maximized because there's a random dice roll. As long as there's a random dice roll, almost every time you can empower it and maximize it, because, or maximize it, I should say, because it literally is a variable. If there's no variable associated with it, like a fine example, I didn't pick the spell, but there's one called Icy Prison, where it does cold damage, and you're like, okay, well they would maximize the damage on that. Well, there is a maximum. The damage is literally, cold damage per round is equal to your caster level. So at level 20, it'd be 20 cold damage. There is no this range to that range. It's always 20, so there is no maximize. Same with that one though. With Empower, I think that would work on that one if you could do it, which I don't think we can because it's such a high level spell. But if you could, like as a sorcerer for instance, you could do it and it would be empowered, because it would, all it does is take the number it does for damage or whatever and multiplies it by 1.5. So instead of 20 damage of cold, it should be 30 if it's empowered. So that could be a thing. But that's your pets, and again, there may be ways to buff them, but not enough interest in that to want to do that in your build, because it would require at least 2 feats, if not 3, to really kind of get any kind of benefit out of it. And I can't say is you want to go Conjurer for spell focus and then augment summoning and superior summoning. That just seems silly. I'll show you what else we got. Coming in here. Notice, of course, I'm leaving power attack on at all times for that ability, the Cornigan Smash slash where is it? This one here, Dreadful Carnage. This one just has to do with killing enemies, so I don't have to have power attack on for this one to work. But anytime I'm swinging at anybody, I intimidate them. So that's at least something, and that's one of the reasons I like having power attack on with Cornigan Smash. But only on a strength build, obviously. Okay, say... Come on, guys. Where's the bad guys at? Not behind you, pussy. Alright, let's see. Effect. We have... Undead, we already done that. Oh, let's do some innervation. He's happy. 3 levels, and he died. Now, why did he die? Either he had a health of 15, because remember, 5 HP they lose per level drain. So if he had a health of 15, he'd be dead anyway. If not, he literally had 3 levels on him. He went to level 0, which means you die. So that's the thing. Better effect if you're using it on, in my opinion, a boss. But notice it is a ray spell. You do have to do a ray touch attack. Now, of course, at this high level, we're kick-ass compared to them, but it's not the point. It's a dex-based move. So if you're really a dexer, then this is useful for you. This is sadly, and I really kind of hate this part. I'm going to get on my high horse here now. Ray of Enfeeblement's another example. It's a ray touch attack. If it's not a ray spell that you can get as any Eldritch Scion, level 1 through 20, just as you just steadily level up, not free picks. That was a free pick at level 19. I'm talking just the random leveling up shit. If it's not a ray spell, then you can't do Eldritch Arch or shoot it through your bow. And that's not a ray spell that you get as you level up. You can get it as a free pick, but you still can't shoot it through your bow, which is kind of a drag. But Ray of Enfeeblement you can shoot through your bow because you can pick it as you level up. Ray of Sickening, on the other hand, which we did not pick, but you could, we cannot shoot through the bow. Even though it is a ray spell, if I am correct on that, I never pick it, so I don't know for a fact. It says Ray of Sickening, I'm assuming it's a ray spell. But again, because it's a free pick, you have to get it at level 19, for instance, you cannot shoot it through your bow, which is a bummer. Because that would kick ass as a bolt coming to your face from your bow and crossbow. Wait, this guy. Ooh, they look like shit. Oh, this one is the giant frog. Let's see if there's something I can do to him to just piss him off. Oh, Wave of Fatigue. Weird thing about that is because there's no save, you don't really know that it affected them until they swing at you. Sadly, it's a 20% miss chance. Here, I'm going to run around in a circle so he can swing at me multiple times. He swung at me here. He is shaken. And that's from my demoralizing killing that last guy who caught him in the effect. Didn't do a damn thing to him, though, for my fatigue, though. Well, I don't know that. I just see that his strength is +4. His strength could have been +6, for all I know. And I don't know that. Do I have info on him? That's a good question. Maybe I do. No. Damn it. Oh, no. I see fatigue. Yeah, it did work. So I did fatigue him with that spell, that Wave of Fatigue spell. So it did land. That's nice. Okay, he is shaken, and that's from the other effects. death creature permanent. So this is from the level of the dungeon that he's in. He has that death creature effect, whatever the hell that means, which is probably not good news for me. But he's about to die, so but that's basically what that Waves of Fatigues is for, then just to literally gimp a group of guys in a big cone in front of you. And again, as the main tank, you're up front anyway, so that is fine. Other things to show you. Stuff that you haven't seen before. Of course, Undead to Death, when we find any Undead we want to kill. Circle of Death, I could do that one. And that one, I had to leave and grab Diamond Dust for, because that's a requirement spell component. You've already seen Eye Bite. You already know what Humble Strike does. It's just a better beam. Just a different kind of damage. I do like the blind effect, though, because it really screws over the bad guy that you hit with it. And I like the fact that even if they're immune to cold, you're still doing negative energy damage, assuming they're not immune to that, too. So that's something. Again, it's kind of like why you like Hellfire Ray, because not only is it uber damage, the damage is not technically all fire. It's split half fire and half unholy, I want to say. And that unholy damage, again, it's not likely to be resisted by a fire immune target. So at the very least, Hellfire Ray has its uses for those fire immune jackasses. So that's cool. Circle of Death is dangerous to you. Notice that the circle goes under your feet, the spinning circle of doom. Look for that. That's for you and your team. Don't get in that shit. But here's a massive AoE. Circle of Death. Now, the Centipede did not die. He was either outside of the range, which I doubt because the room's pretty tiny, or he made the check. Yeah, Fortitude save succeeded. This is your Bane. Oh, he has a bonus because he's a death creature. Son of a bitch. But point is, because we're not a DC checker, we don't have high charisma, for instance, or spell focus necromancy, greater spell focus necromancy, and you get the idea. This is never going to be an amazing ability for you. But when it does land, you will hit multiple dudes and wipe out several guys at a whack. Comes in handy. And again, you do feel more like a necromancy asshat when you can basically do Circle of Death, in my opinion. Now, it may be a wasted pick, and I'll find that out as I play the game. But the point is I still say it's a viable tactic. You just fear me. What the hell did he just do? I can do, of course, like I said, Dazzling Display without attacking. So I could set up like so. If I really wanted to, early on in the game, of course, to get that. Ooh, hey there. To get that fear effect or shaken effect on it. And of those two effects, by the way, I honestly rather it be shaken versus feared. It's the same debuff, just so we're clear. Feared is the ones where they will do everything in their power to get the hell away from you, which includes like spells and zipping the hell away. If they get pinned in a corner or whatever, they will turn and fight you, but they still have that same penalty that shaken has. I hate chasing them down. Now my team can do that, of course, but the point is I'd rather not be shaken because that's just a debuff and they're still there trying to fight. They're just quivering a little bit. That's that little gray aura that gets slapped on them. When you see that shit, you know that you have them at least under a shaken effect. So, all in all, I mean, I know this video's been long. I apologize for that, guys. You know how I like to talk. But I'm a big fan of this one. It just doesn't feel as cool to me as if I had more necromancy spells at my beck and call. That's the real bummer of it. You will feel tanky. You almost feel better tank-wise than the Abyssal. The Abyssal, to me, felt more damage dealer because of the extra strength. This guy's got both, but I think he's more of a tank than he is a frontline tank/damage dealer. He's more of a tank than he is a damage dealer. He definitely has tricks and stuff that will help. So I still feel like I'm forgetting to tell you something, though. I never use the Grave Touch ability. I should just say that in passing. That's the level 1 stuff that they give you. It's kind of crap. But it's there. And never forget, of course, that if you're getting into a fight where you know that you're taking damage, even if you have to cheese it, go through multiple saves, and you're like, why am I not winning in this fight? This guy's kicking my ass. Don't forget you have this ability, this incorporeal form. I should point out, as we leveled up for our picks, I did a little different this time. As you saw, I have extended as well as maximized magic for reasons. We still grabbed Enduring Blade. I still grabbed Ghost Blade because, you know, you're an undead guy. It kind of made sense. And I've got my Bane Blade. But instead of getting Prescient Attack, I'm getting Dimension Strike. Why? Well, remember all those little fear effects that we're throwing around? For that combat round, after we throw around those fear effects, because of our Shatter defenses? Sorry, I can't remember the name of these things. Yeah, Shatter defenses. They're considered flat-footed for that round, so I don't need Prescient Attack, is my point. I literally, all I have to do is fear them once, or shaken them, you know, scare them basically once in the combat round. You know, shaken, frightened, or panicked, I should say. And they're considered flat-footed for that round. So that's perfect. So I don't need Prescient Attack per se. I just need to make sure that that goes off. And I can do that by literally clicking Dazzling Display. And that's good enough. As long as my Persuasion check, my Intimidate check basically is high enough, they get scared. And bam, I go to town. Which is freaking awesome. Because that's pretty goddamn cool. And it's really easy to get that Intimidate check up. Because I mean, it's based off of skills. And we just make sure that that Persuasion is up to a decent number. 26 is, a plus 26 is not bad at the end. And we can get that higher, of course, with higher Charisma. We can get that higher, of course, with higher Strength. We can get that, of course, higher with spells like Heroism or Greater Heroism that buff skills. There's going to be gear out there that gives you bonuses to not only Persuasion, but there will be specific pieces of gear out there that will give you bonus to Intimidate, which is a fraction of your Persuasion checks, but the important one for us in this case. So find that gear and just own it. You will literally be a bone shaking, scaring son of a bitch that's just going to terrify everybody in your path, which is kind of the point, I would say, of the Undead Knight that we have going for us here. Because really that's what you're banking on, is that they're terrified of you, and because they're quaking in their boots, they're less effective in combat and you're more effective. And that feels about right for this build. Other than that, I think that's all I really wanted to show you. Again, I do apologize for the length of the video, guys. I know I like to ramble. Part of it was me getting on my high horse bitching about how I hate this thing. It isn't bad. Like I said, you will like it. Don't have to go Bardiche, like I said before. Don't think that you're married to this specific weapon, but you do have to have a weapon focus. I picked this one for the reach. There's several that have the same reach. This one had a decent crit range. It may not drop very well in the game, so that's the thing. But again, we have the ability to buff it ourselves anyway, so I didn't really care too much. It's more to set up the scare effect, so, and then the extra reach besides. We're clearly doing good damage. Because we're a different size, we even get a different size category for weapon for the damage output, so that's cool too. Another plus 10 to this strength here, by the way, is available to us. One with that potion, the other with a belt that gives us a plus 8 to strength, dex, and con. So that's a plus 10 to here, plus 10 to here, and a plus 10 to here. So think about what you can do with another plus 5 damage, or to your attack bonus. Plus 5 here technically goes to plus 7.5, somewhere around there, because again, you do 50% more damage because it's a two-hander. So that's cool. You will literally have really nice damage, a decent crit range. I would love a keen weapon, obviously, but we can make it keen ourselves. And your armor's just going to suck for touch attack. That's really the only downside, I'd say, of this build, and that's going to be for all of these Eldritch Scions, because we're not dipping outside of the range of a pure Eldritch Scion. If you wanted to do that, you should go Scaled Fist 1, Eldritch Scion, whatever Bloodline 19. And you will own it, because the charisma will be high, and the more charisma index you put into those builds, you don't have to wear armor. You can wear robes, and the right kind of robes can be awesome. Your dex bonus and your charisma bonus besides will put you in really nice territories here. Spells besides that with blur, mirror image, shield spell, and blah blah blah. And you'll have a solid armor class for other occasions. Your touch armor class will be in that nice range where you want it to be. But this is a purist build. So if you're going straight Eldritch Scion, this is what I have to offer you. It's not perfect, I'd say, but for what I wanted to do with it, I'd say I'm pretty goddamn close. And just to recap one last time, started off with dodge, combat reflexes, weapon focus of your choice, power attack, Cornigan smash, shatter defenses, toughness, arcane strike, dreadful carnage, blind fight, improved blind fight. We picked as leveling up dazzling display, intimidating prowess, and meta magic of some kind, which in my case I picked extend. You could pick anything. But with that, my name is Brothermutant. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Tell me what you guys think. Where did I go wrong? Whatever you pick different kind of spells did you like or didn't like. I'll see you guys soon. Bye now.